HICGI News Agency is still bringing you voices here in Baku, Azerbaijan, where the United Nations from a convention on climate change COP29 is sitting. We are joined by another delegate from Uganda, Madam Kivumbi. Welcome to HICGI News Agency.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. I'm happy to be here.
Could you tell us, you are an observer, what exactly are you observing here and what is your organization about?
Yeah, so my name is Kivumbi Priska briefly, and I'm a conservation biologist. I work with Fridays for Future Uganda, a youth-led climate action group in Uganda. And basically I'm here to follow the climate finance because I'm very interested in knowing the mechanisms of financing the climate action right at the grassroots levels in countries like Uganda that are being heavily impacted by the changes in the climate. So I'm here mainly following the finance.
Talking about biodiversity, could you please enlighten to the ordinary person what this is about?
Yeah, sure. So biodiversity is basically, all plants and animals, starting from the very simple bacteria to the most complex species. And the nexus between biodiversity and climate change is undeniable because they affect and impact each other in one way or another. Changes in climate change are leading to the extinction of the most important species that we human beings cannot live without, and the climate change is being fueled by our activities, which are quite selfish and self-sabotaging, because we are changing the habitats that these organisms survive in, and at the end of the day we cannot live without them. So it is self-sabotage.
What are some of these species, especially plants, animals, maybe also birds, that are at threat or extinct in Africa?
Yeah, right. So right from time immemorial, the large organisms have always suffered at the face of extinction. So the beautiful and amazing elephants of Africa are, being threatened because of habitat change. And even the plants, the indigenous plants that our communities survive on for medicine, food and survival are not being spared. So the beautiful biodiversity, which is, the signature look of Africa, is really going to waste.
And do you have hope in these discussions as they're happening here that probably COP29 would do something special than other COPs have been doing?
Well, COP29 has put some focus on, community conservation and bringing indigenous people and with their traditional knowledge to the table. So that gives me a little bit of hope, because traditional people had methods of conserving their environments and species. So that is quite different, because when there is inclusion, benefit sharing, and a clear mechanism of how finance will reach people with the traditional knowledge, it gives us hope that maybe these species can be conserved the traditional way.
COP29 has also been calling upon financing, and it's been one of the key messages by the Secretary General. And at the grassroots where you come from, are you expecting real funding on the grassroots?
Well, at this moment, honestly, I still have fear that the mechanism is not clear, especially in our countries in the global south. Because even if the amount is received, how many people on the local scene know about this funding? How many have built their capacity about this funding? And how would they be able to channel and use it? And this gives advantage to those who have received it to misuse it, because the people at the local, the grassroots level do not understand this fund. I could give an example of the most affected communities in Uganda. They lack even the bare minimum structures to respond to climate change, to adapt. And yet sometimes we sit in these discussions and we're talking about millions of money that are supposed to be sent to such communities, meaning that the money is being released, but how is it being distributed? And even on the ground, who is ready to put these big discussions into consideration? I could talk about the global treaties that we sign and ratify. How many of us are willing on the local ground to enact them locally? How many of us are even interested in the nationally determined contributions and putting them in place? It's a very, it's just a handful. So, and unless we build our capacity, I think we shall have the discussions and improved methods, but we shall still have trouble operationalizing these discussions.
Many youth in Africa are more into sports and other things that take up their life.
Right.
How are you bringing the youth on board in terms of climate action and conservation?
Exactly. The surest, quickest way we can bring, change is building a critical mass of people that are demanding for the change. And how do we build that critical mass? Spreading the message, advocacy, awareness, and capacity building. So at Fridays for Future Uganda, we have mentorship programs for the young people called the Early Youth Climate Mentorship Program, where we equip young people with knowledge on climate action and skills for sustainable living and adaptation to climate change. So I call upon other organizations to also adapt this and other young people who have the message to share it so that we have a critical mass of people who are very informed about the problems that we are facing, but are also willing to come up and demand for the change that they want to see.
Any final message for you to the world?
Yeah, so I call upon everyone to wake up in the morning and notice the changes and see what they want to do about the changes. Because people are now focused on poverty, but the poverty environmental nexus is very strong. Environmental destruction comes with poverty, and poverty also accelerates environmental destruction. So every single aspect that you look at and want to change, think about the bigger picture. How can it be sustainable? How can we sustain the environment for future generations? And any information or message or knowledge that you have about environmental protection, share it. Let everyone know the message. Let us not keep in silos working, in small groups, but rather build coalitions and networks that are harder to break. So I call upon everyone to work collectively with their colleagues, to complement each other's work, so that we can see the change that we want to see in a very short time.
Strong and critical voices continuing to emerge from here, Baku, Azerbaijan, where COP29 is sitting, and Kivumbi, Earnest, Benjamin will continue to bring in more voices, half of HICGI News Agency and the team right there. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you, Benjamin.